Bunnycast number 26, The Return of Big Daddy, recorded on February 5th, 2010.
Damn it.
We're really trying to stuff this particular genie back in the bottle. we will make an effort at this. We'll get back to you more on this later.
Sometimes the dreams come back and seem so real to me. The sky turns so cold and black. I'm scared of what I see, but I'm not afraid anymore. You vanquished my fears. You gave me a reason to laugh and stole all my tears.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Bunnycast. I'm your hostess, Dane calling LeatherClad. We have with us here at the studio, us being me and the Right Reverend Lord Sir Killerfish of the Keenfans, which is about it today.
Yes. We also have a small yellow bear with an eye patch over one eye, sitting with me, looking at the screen and pining over all the money that he's made for charity.
Well, I don't think he'll be contributing much to the discussion. So,
Yes. Small yellow bears don't tend to talk much.
Right. Yes, it's going to be a small, hopefully short, little podcast today. This is a off recording week for us due to conflicting schedules and other things like that. But we're going to do our best to fill it out and complete podcasting experience.
The complete podcasting experience of excellence.
Okay, so jumping straight into it. As far as forum news goes, there's not really a lot of news per se.
Yeah.
Mostly because, well, it's been about a week since we recorded last, so not much has been happening in that week, but I did kind of want to revisit last week's recording and talk about some of the stuff that's been going on in the forums and my personal perspective of it.
You cannot see me nodding, but I am anyway.
My big thing with the forums, and kind of the reason that it's difficult for me to get back into them, is because there's too much.
Yeah. I completely agree with you on the fact that... I'll let you talk.
No, you can contribute. That's fine.
Okay. Agree with you. You might notice that I don't tend to contribute much to the forums anyway, but at the moment I'm sort of in my shell. I'm trying to break out of it, but the way things are going on the forum currently, I just don't feel the need to contribute at the moment, which is a bit sad, really.
Yeah. My thing is kind of related. There's a lot of activity, but the problem is the activity is spiked up in various areas, and it's so spread out. Let's take a look back when the forum was literally the most successful it's ever been, back in Keen Spot days. And, I didn't...
Well, those were the days. Those were the days, my friend. No, I won't sing. No singing.
Not that I want to say, yeah, back in my day, but it is one of those things where there was a formula, and it worked. And unfortunately, things had to change. But I think a large part of what changed, in the case of the forums, didn't help. At least it didn't work out in the way that I think Dan, who set up the current structure of the forums, was hoping for. And I'm gonna throw this out here. And I think this has a lot to do with how the people who do the watch like to do things. And a while back. I can't even remember which episode it was. It was one of the Comic-Con preparation episodes, like I think 2 years ago. We were talking, or maybe it was last year. We were talking about how BunnyCon was again going to be a Comic-Con, and we were already talking with watchers, trying to hook something up for convention, and then I believe it was Squato that pointed out that the convention was going to be a moving convention. It was going to move around to different locations so that everybody could enjoy it. And at the time, of course, we had another topic at hand, so I just said, well, that's done. And I moved on. Well, I wanted to elaborate here and now because I think that kind of thinking has a lot to do with what's going on with the forum right now.
Yeah.
Nothing against Ann or Tom or any of those guys who work on the 910 forums and the watch and our community organizers and all that kind of thing. But frankly, I think that they're going a little too far. There is a lot to be said for keeping things simple. And it makes me think of when Apple came out with Mac OS X around the time that Microsoft was announcing, 13 different versions of Windows Vista?
Oh, God. Yeah.
And Steve Jobs, in his keynote, when he was talking about Leopard, was the keynote announcement, and he was saying, yeah, there's going to be these different versions, and here's their price points, and it was all exactly the same. It was, the professional, the consumer, the business, it was all just the same copy of Leopard, and it was all the same price point, but he was really poking fun at Microsoft for making all of these product SKUs and trying to literally flood the market. And the problem was that people were looking at this and saying, do I want this? Do I want this? I hear this doesn't run well, but maybe it's this that doesn't run well, and I want to get this one, but it's only available for large businesses, and how does this work with my router? Oh, it's failing on this program, and it just was a big ball of fail. And Vista was the second worst operating system, both in marketing and in execution, that Microsoft ever released. The first, of course, being Windows ME. For those who follow tech, well, I guess that was going to be what I was going to say.
I'm just glad that I stopped using Windows years ago. I've seen the light, and it's not window shaped.
No, it's not. But we're getting the same thing with the 910 forums. You go to community.910cmx.com, and you're first presented with a huge block of forums that have nothing to do with any of the comics. They're all just community-based. But if you go into those, there's not much happening. And then there's some for specifically conventions, but nobody ever visits those. And then you get into the webcomic forums themselves, and they are nicely divided. You got the Watch, you got SailorSun.com, you got IBM Genie, IBM Genie Bottle, you got the EGS, so on and so forth. And then you got another batch of forums for the community.
Yeah.
And when you drill down into these forums, you get specific to the EGS community, you get specific to the Watch community, and you get specific to all these little communities within the larger community, which is not terrible in and of itself. That's not too far from a GameSpot gig. But then you drill even further down, and you've got comic reactions, you've got comic discussion, you've got games, you've got roleplay, you've got, it splinters out so much.
Over specification. If you understand what I mean. It's overly specified. So it's like taking a group of people and then dividing them down and down until you get a group of people who are specifically 5'11" high, who are male with dark brown hair.
Exactly. And the problem is all of a sudden, okay, this is my forum. Where the hell's everybody else?
Yeah.
Because you drill down too much, you pigeonhole too much, and all of a sudden you don't see anybody else. And I think that's a large part of the reason why, at least in my experience, the 910 forums are so empty. They're so dead. And this isn't even talking about some of the stuff that's been going on behind the scenes, which I've been asked not to talk about. And so it's just this big splinter off and segregation, and we want to include everybody, so we're going to give all these options. And so you wind up having one option that's perfect for you, but nobody else, and you never interact, which kind of defeats the purpose of a community-based forum. Meanwhile, back at Keenspot, it's still hopping on the Mayhem forum, which they graciously kept open for the people who didn't want to make the jump, because it's one place. You've got all these threads, and the threads, sure, they provide some level of specificity, but it's literally 2 layers deep. There's the forum and the threads. That's it. So you get to see what everybody's doing, and you can hop in on any of the games, any of the role plays, any of the discussion threads, any of the topical stuff, any of the polls or games or anything that's going on.
Which is a good way of doing it. It's much simpler. You can see everything.
Exactly. And, again, I'm kind of going to go back to an Apple versus Microsoft comparison. And, I know it's been said a lot that Apple doesn't give people what they want, it gives people what they didn't know they wanted. Whereas Microsoft gives people what they want. And, well, look at Windows and look at Mac OS X. Or look at Windows Mobile and look at the iPhone. It's a totally different experience, and which one do people prefer? Sure, there's people who use Windows because it's cheap, or because they know it, or because they hate Apple, but the people who use Mac OS X, or use the iPhone, or use the iPod Touch, or even just a plain old iPod Nano, they use it because it's easy to use and they love their product. I don't know.
That's odd. People actually liking their product. We should do something about that. Let's make it 10 times more complicated with 15 more buttons. And perhaps a death ray installed in it as well.
Oh, so that explains it. Dark works at Microsoft.
Indeed. Well, actually, they work for me, but you know.
Okay, so I'm kind of done ranting. Killerfish, do you have any more to say on this?
Nothing serious. Nothing serious.
Oh, okay. All right, let's. This is kind of why I like only doing recordings of 3 hosts, because, well, it's kind of quiet around here.
Indeed. It's just weird. Normally we'd have Squato talking about something here.
And one more thing.
Yes, one more thing. He is so going to kill us, I think.
So, let's talk about the comic. We're in the middle of some Q&A right now, which is good because it gives us a break from the story-based comics, which
allows us to go into that area of complete and utter confusion about. I don't know what I'm talking about. I was just trying to be. We need a third person.
We really do. What I like about the Q&As, and Dan has literally done this since the very, very most beginning, is he breaks out and just has some silly fun with these other characters. And most amusing part about it is these characters, literally, they're just bit characters. You threw them in, say, I need some talking heads here, but we still care about them. We still want to know what's going on.
They've evolved.
Exactly.
As the Q&As have developed, we've come to care for them. And all the little problems that they've developed in their own small subsection of EGS. I know what I'm talking about.
No, you're fine. So, I have to confess, my brain is stumping on the names of Amanda and Lisa. I know one of them is one, but which one's the one that shrinks all the time? Is that Amanda or Lisa?
Amanda.
Thank you.
It's Amanda. Lisa's the one who's the lawyer.
So, here's my question. Does Lisa like the fact that Amanda keeps shrinking? And is that part of her attraction there?
I believe that's implied. It's implied, but we might not know for sure.
Well, yeah.
That's the thing about some of Dan's characters. He just needs to imply certain aspects of their personality, and he lets the reader do the rest of the thinking about them, and that leads to discussion, and leads to people getting together to have discussions about these characters.
Which leads back to the forums. Oh my goodness!
How did that happen? Me actually saying something relevant to a conversation we were holding not 5 minutes ago.
We don't plan these things, really.
No.
We've got an outline, which is really more of a suggestion.
Yeah, and I occasionally forget to look at it completely. And that explains a lot.
So, okay, let's move on to some miscellaneous news.
Indeed.
The problem with Killerfish and I is we tend to hide ourselves under a rock if we're not careful.
Well, it's not really a rock. It's more of a sheet of plywood, but, you know, it's the same principle.
It's the same principle. We tend to hide from the world. So Killerfish does not have a particularly topical news item. I, however, do. For those of you who are unaware, I have been following politics rather closely, and of course I do tend
Politics. Okay, go on.
Yeah, so, I like sex, I like politics, and I like religion. So abortion is a great topic for you to talk about. Anyways, so I've been following politics, and I am, as everybody should know by now, rather conservative. And so I've been watching the growing Tea Party movement. And for those of you who get your news from the mainstream media, all you'll know of the Tea Party movement is that it's, quote, a bunch of fringe right-wing conservative extremists who like to disrupt town hall meetings with congresspeople and representatives. Which is so incomplete a picture, I can't even begin to...
That sounds a little too dry to be an accurate
it's
reading.
Extremely inaccurate. It's so twisted a description that, again, it's like I'm kind of stuck with where to start to correct that image. The idea behind the Tea Parties is it's intended to evoke the historical incident that literally launched the American Revolution, the Boston Tea Party, in 1774, I think it was.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't teach American history in England.
Why?
Because we're English. We don't like to admit that we had our asses kicked by people who are from our colonies. Not colonies. I can't pronounce anything.
Is that like Sean Connolly?
Yes, Sean Connery.
The Irish and less famous counterpart to Sean Connery?
That's right. Or he might be Welsh.
A distinction that is made only by people in England. So, just a little disclaimer here. I am not part of the whole Tea Party movement. I do like what they have to say, but I'm one of those people, it's too much work. So I don't do it.
Too much work.
Uh,
Sounds familiar.
But hey, I got a wife, a kid, and a full-time job that I have things that I need to do. But
I have better things to be doing than doing whatever you're meant to be doing. But good job!
So the idea was that they're having these Tea Party protests to basically position against the increase of taxes, the increase of government intervention in the private sector, and the introduction of the monumentally disastrous healthcare reform that is currently being pushed through Congress.
Yeah, you've got a different healthcare system in the US than we do in the UK. I don't know how to describe it from your end, but I know over here we have the NHS, the National Health Service, which means if somebody gets injured, they get taken to hospital and don't have to fill out insurance or anything like that. Because I know there's something about insurance with American hospitals or something. I don't know. Please feel free to educate me on that.
Well, here's how it works. Let's say something does happen for an emergency. You do go to the emergency room either by a hospital or by being driven, by an ambulance, or being driven by somebody, or even taking yourself down. The emergency room can be kind of expensive, and it's something of a running joke that if you go to the emergency room, you're not going to be treated as though it's an emergency. Because the emergency room is literally, that's where everybody sort of funnels into the hospital these days, because everybody say they break their arm, they rush to the hospital, and they check in at the window in the emergency room, and they sit and they wait for sometimes hours. My mother-in-law, for example, came in for a birthday visit for my daughter last year. And while she was here, she started experiencing some pretty extreme distress in her digestive system, to the point where she was getting dizzy, throwing up everything she ate. So we rushed her to the emergency room because it was 11 at night. And we checked her in, and we were literally waiting for 3 hours.
Oh, that's not fun.
No. Now, yes, the emergency room system is fundamentally broken. There are reasons, and I could point fingers, but that's neither here nor there. So, in a lot of hospitals, they started doing what's called urgent care. Urgent care is a place where you can go where it's not an emergency per se, but you do need to be seen very quickly. For example, my wife wasn't feeling very well, so she called in sick to work. They said she would need to get a note from the doctor, which is stupid, and that's another discussion. And so she called her doctor, and the doctor, it was the holidays, so the doctor wasn't going to be in for a month. So we took her to urgent care since it wasn't an emergency. It was a bit of a wait, maybe 10, 15 minutes. She got in, got herself checked out, got a prescription. Turned out she had a minor case of food poisoning, and we were done. It was very quick and efficient. Problem is, not a lot of people know about urgent care or don't understand what it's for. And on top of that, it's not open 24 hours like the emergency room. So if you have something in the middle of the night, you're stuck waiting for an hour or 3.
That's, as I said, not fun.
Yes. Now, here's where the myth and confusion about healthcare comes. The myth is that if you don't have insurance, you're screwed. This is not true. Emergency rooms across the United States are, by law, required to assist you, which is part of the reason why there's such a long wait, because if you don't have insurance, if you do have insurance, if you are legally an American citizen, if you are not legally an American citizen, if you've done nothing wrong and just had an accident while, say, cleaning your tub, or if you're a criminal who got shot by the police in the process of escaping a crime, they are required to treat you no matter what.
Dude, I was taking these bullets out and I accidentally fell on them from an elevator whilst being chased by some people.
Oh, and if you tell anybody about this, I'll kill you.
I'll kill you! Kill you with a knife!
I'm gonna stab you with bullets in the face.
Mind bullets.
So the myth is, again, if you don't have insurance, then you're screwed. And again, another myth is, if you're not rich, then you don't have insurance. Which is also, I mean, I'm not rich by any stretch. But I have insurance because I actually took the time to get it. But again, you don't need insurance to get health care. Now, here's the real screwball part of it. The reason medical costs in America are high is because of insurance.
Right.
Because insurance masks the actual cost of healthcare. When my wife and I took our daughter to the doctor, that because it looked like my daughter was getting an ear infection, it was, I think, $25 for the visit. And when we went to get the prescription for the eardrops, it was $15 for the medicine.
Okay.
Now, having been trained as a medical transcriptionist, whose job it is to take these obscure insurance codes and make sure they're transcoded properly and all the paperwork's filled out and all that kind of thing, I happen to know that the actual costs of the doctor's visit and the medicine were quite a bit higher. That doctor's visit, if the insurance were not part of the picture, was probably going to be around $400. And medicine was probably going to be somewhere in the ballpark of $75 to $100.
That's madness.
Yeah, it is. So if you don't have insurance and you walk in for, say, getting your child's ears checked for problems with her ears, then it's not going to work. Because, I mean, you're literally having to say, okay, I don't have that kind of money on me. You're going to have to bill me. And, of course, it winds up usually going to collections within a month or two, which is standard practice in America, America's medical system. And then you start getting tacked with, like with interest fees and late fees and all the stuff that the collection agency wants to collect from you, which the hospital has nothing to do with because they've taken care of you, they sold off your accountant. If you call them up and say, hey, what's this extra charge? They're going to what?
Yeah. Sorry. I am paying attention to you.
I know.
Seriously.
I know. So,
for anybody not knowing what's going on, we're just making fun of Squato, who's turned up finally.
yes.
However, it's too late for him.
So, the Tea Party is protesting the plan that the president and the Democrat-heavy Congress has put into place. Now, here's the real kicker in my opinion. This health plan is supposed to be medical care for everybody. You're going to get insurance whether you want it or not, which that's a whole nother discussion. But even like liberals are looking at this plan and saying, what? This is stupid. This is really, really dumb. And I mean, I talk to people who are on the entirely opposite end of the political spectrum from myself, and they're like, no, I hate this bill. This is a stupid bill. I don't want it passed.
Looks like it's another case of uncommon sense.
Exactly. So the Tea Party movement it started to protest this, predominantly the healthcare bill, but also the higher taxes and the increasing incursion of the government into the private sector. I mean, what the hell is the president doing dictating to General Motors what cars they can and can't make? That's stupid.
I mean, don't you have the segregation of church and state? Shouldn't that sort of have a similar thing within the private sector and the state as well?
You would think.
That would make sense.
Unfortunately, well, first off, the separation of church and state is not actually in any of our founding documents at all. There is freedom of religion, but that's got nothing to do with whether or not there is it's not going to happen, but let's say the United States government all gets together and they pass an amendment saying that New Age Wiccan is the new religion official religion of the United States of America. As long as they don't enforce that with, Inquisition patrols or anything like that, who cares? Because we're all free to worship how we want. Now, because we're all free to worship how we want, it would be stupid to establish an official religion, because then that could be taken advantage of, and that's, again, another topic at the time.
Indeed.
But, just like there's no official founding document saying there's a separation of church and state, there's no official founding document saying, well, there's supposed to be a separation of the economy and the government.
You'd think there would.
Well, yeah.
Really?
Honestly, you would think that. But, it's one of those things where one of the foundational philosophical treatises, on how the United States was supposed to run is Thomas Paine's Common Sense. It's a little booklet. You can get it for free on the iTunes store, or you can get it on Amazon if they're cheap, or probably walk into your local used bookstore and find a nice, well-aged copy sitting on the shelf. Point is that this book was actually almost standard teaching curriculum. Of course, there was no official curriculum at the time for a good portion of American history. And then it just stopped being used. And now nobody understands anything that's in the book Common Sense, which includes things like, hey, government, get your paws off my business. And you'd think that the feminists would be all over this rather conservative at this point notion of keep your paws off me, because, well, they're all on about how everybody should keep your hands off my body. It's like, okay, great. Why don't you enforce that? Anyways, okay, I'm ranting again.
Indeed. Indeed.
So, one of the interesting things about the Tea Parties is that, yes, it is a full-on big movement, but the Tea Party people, the people who go out and they participate, they've basically drawn a line in the sand saying, no, we're not a political party. No, we don't want to be. No, we don't want any official leaders. This is purely going to be, this is of the people, by the people, and for the people movement. And guess what? You know it. We may not be an official voting bloc, but you better treat us like one, because we're starting to make decisions about who gets in what seat. This was really highlighted when Ted Kennedy's seat, who it seemed like he was never going to die. He finally died. The seat was vacated. There was a special election, and a Republican, a conservative Republican, was elected to fill a liberal Democrat's seat.
That sounds like a complete 180 from what you'd expect.
Absolutely, and that's kind of what got everybody to sit up and take notice. And when they looked into it, by golly, it sure looks like the Tea Party was not really involved, but they were like the driving voting bloc to get this guy in office. So, yeah. So again, big news. I'm going to keep an eye on this to see what happened with it.
Yeah. It is. Sorry. Nothing important to say. But yeah, I agree with you completely. I have nothing important to say, and I will contribute nothing to this conversation, but I agree with the person who just spoke entirely.
Okay, so, as though we didn't have enough discussion right there, let's go on to our discussion!
Discussion!
No theme music! No theme music!
Okay, I'll try to resist the siren call of the ocarina.
So, okay, we're going to be talking about social gaming.
Huzzah!
Yes. A lot of people will probably remember a little game. It made a few waves. It got a couple good reviews called BioShock.
That sounds familiar.
So BioShock 2 is coming out very, very soon. I want to pre-order, but more tell me if I pre-ordered another game. And it's one of the big features that they are touting is multiplayer. And you'll be able to play multiplayer on the PC or on the Xbox. And it's, instead of capture the flag, it's rescue the little sister. For those of you who are unfamiliar with BioShock, the running theme is whether or not you are going to choose to rescue or kill these little girls that have stuff inside their systems that you need. If you rescue, you get less of the stuff that you need. If you kill them, you get all the stuff in them that you need. It's a fairly disturbing idea, but you can win the game either way. And in fact, they predicate the end on how you choose to play. For those of you who want more information on BioShock and the gameplay and the premise and all that kind of thing, I'm not going to do a complete review here because, frankly, everything I could say about the game has already been said very well by the very famous at this point video game reviewer Yahtzee on the Escapist website. I highly recommend going out and checking out his entire body of work, but specifically the BioShock review, which is pretty early in his archive. It was one of the first reviews he did. But go on.
Zero punctuation.
Yes, Zero Punctuation is the name of his reviews. And you'll understand when you start listening. So, this brings us back to, well, the multiplayer aspect, because the first game did not have any multiplayer at all. Award-winning game, very good, very fun to play. There were a lot of people, myself included, that thought the game should be longer. So the people who did BioShock, EA, I forget the publishing house. Anyways, they obliged everybody by making a new BioShock 2, that explores further the story of BioShock. And they, of course, added the multiplayer aspect, wherein in this multiplayer aspect, you get to be a citizen who's testing the brand new DNA technology of plasmids, which is what allows you to shoot bees out of your hand, and lightning, and all this kind of thing.
All the cool stuff.
The multiplayer brings home the whole notion of, well, games these days are all about the social aspect. This was really kind of punctuated with Halo 3 came out, and the campaign was the shortest of the three games. But it was one of the hottest selling Halo titles, period.
I
And
think it's because people just like the idea of running around with guns and shooting their friends.
there's actually a song on the soundtrack for Halo 3 that's kind of it's kind of a parody song. It's funny. Listen to it. They talk about that very thing. And then you've got Apple jumping in using the iPod Touch and to a lesser extent the iPhone as a portable gaming platform with great emphasis on, look, you can do social gaming. And I gotta tell you, I was skeptical at first, but at work, they're doing something called Words with Friends. And it's kind of like Scrabble, where you get a set of tiles and you lay the tiles out to form words. And it's, when it first started like 6 months ago, I thought, this will pass, because there were some other games that made waves and then they just stopped being popular. But it's literally just as popular, if not more so, than it was when it started.
I must say, unfortunately, my time has come. I must depart this plane of existence and move on to another. However, I'm sure that we will have somebody else to fill in my shoes and take on this discussion further into the realms of higher science. And here, I hear some ringing. So,
Who is it?
I shall depart you.
Destiny?
Here.
I've been
Maybe.
waiting to call.
Okay, it's working.
Alrighty.
And I shall depart you, my dear friends, and leave you. Adieu.
Bye, Killerfish.
A Jew? Are you turning into a Jew?
No.
A Jew?
Yes, bless you. Okay. Hello, Squato. As everybody can hear, we now have Squato brought in.
Partly Skype issues, which is always fun.
Well, yeah. But Killerfish has some things to take care of, so he's off and running. Squato, we were discussing social gaming. And most specifically, I brought it up because we are soon to be seeing the release of BioShock 2 here in the States. This is probably another game that you're not allowed to have in Australia.
No, the first one was allowed in there. Doesn't seem like this one's going to get me too much problems.
We'll see.
Although, one thing, having it banned, people are actually happy with the morality system is another issue entirely.
Right.
Well, how broken was the morality system in the first game?
Not terribly. I mean, it was a very limited little...
the morality system in the first game was, are you Jesus incarnate, or are you zombie Stalin Hitler?
There's actually...
Because you can't be one or the other.
There's actually a fairly amusing webcomic, which I'm not going to review this week, that is actually Jesus incarnate versus... actually, it's not zombie Hitler, it's werewolf Hitler, but yeah. So yeah, we're talking about social gaming, because, of course, BioShock 2 does include a multiplayer version, that you play with friends, and I talked a little bit about the iPod Touch and the iPhone being social gaming platforms, and really taking off in that regard. I talked about a game called Words with Friends, but there's also Tap Tap Revenge 3, which, sure, Tap Tap Revenge 1 and 2 had leaderboards that you could post to the internet. Tap Tap Revenge 3 has actual internet-based competition gaming, where you're doing rhythm gaming versus other people, and you can do things like throw bombs at them and mute their sound and wash out their color. It's actually quite a bit of fun.
So it's almost them trying to do some of the tricks which were in Eternal Darkness, if anyone's ever played that game.
Have not played, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, in that game, it was the kind of things that the game screwing with people, or with the player, but they did some really great ones. Like, for instance, you'll go into a room and all this, because you're being freaked out by what they class as the old ones in the game, all of a sudden your head would float up, quote Shakespeare, and then all of a sudden fall to you'll melt into the earth. And then all of a sudden the game will tell you, thank you for playing the demo, and then shut down.
Okay, so basically, and another thing about a lot of these games is they're starting to do things where they tie into Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, I noticed that there's some games that are actually moving over there. Like, for instance, the next Civilization game is actually going to be a Facebook game.
Huh, wonder how that'll work.
Time shall tell, although apparently the open beta for that's opening soon. So it's apparently releasing the end of this year, which, hey, seeing how big that game and how many hours I fucking lost on that game.
Yeah, I really like Civilization. It's quite a fun game. Of course, I cheated like mad, but, you know.
Yeah, actually, I love how that. I'm sorry to interrupt with that, but actually, someone was we had a big conversation with someone at work about the Civilization, and apparently they turned into an atheist because of a belief from one of the books that someone wrote based on it. Like, was the Culture series, and the point they came up with is that because the guy that wrote it's apparently atheistic types anyway, but he had the idea is what's what he calls the Spearman effect, or something along those lines. And basically, it's just where you have someone from one culture that is so advanced that when someone else sees them, they can't comprehend their advancedness. For instance, in Civilization, it's when you have a battleship goes up against, say, a spearman.
I have no idea what a spearman is.
A spearman.
Oh, a spear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'd like to see if they can fix up the battle mechanics of that game, for instance, so you don't actually have the spearman with a health life point of 1 versus a battleship with a health point of 40 beating the battleship. Which happened in the original games. They fixed that up somewhat with the later ones, but it still happens.
Indeed. Yeah.
Quite hilarious.
Well, one thing I'm glad to see with the Civilization series is they're branching it out. Currently, the version you can play on the Xbox of Civilization Revolutions is identical to the version you can play on the PC, which they ported over to the iPhone, and they trimmed down the graphics and streamlined the interface a little bit, but apparently the entire gameplay experience is on the iPhone, too.
Because I know apparently they were talking about for the Wii that we're going to make a completely different version, like they do with a lot of games, a lot of those weird reasons. But so far that's not actually come up as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, well, as far as different versions on the Wii goes, I can tell you right now it's because while the Xbox and Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 are genuinely 7th generation systems, the only thing that makes the Wii a 7th gen system is two things. Controller and internet connection. Otherwise, it's a GameCube in a pretty good box.
And no handle.
Yeah, and no handle, yes. So it's not really capable of doing the 7th gen graphics and a lot of the little tricks that they can do with the genuinely 7th gen system they can't do with the Wii. So if they were to try and say do the lightsaber effects in Soul Calibur for the PlayStation 3 version had Darth Vader and the Xbox 360 version had Yoda, they couldn't do anything like that with the Wii because it was impossible to do proper lightsaber effects as part of their game engine. It was just too difficult to execute. So they
even though they can actually make a lightsaber, you could actually play like you were playing with a lightsaber.
Yeah, and it would make total sense, but they opted not to do it.
Yeah,
probably just to reduce production time. So what do they do instead? They make a whole new game. They actually probably just use the game engine from Soul Calibur 3 excuse me, Soul Calibur. Yeah, Soul Calibur 3 for the GameCube ported it over as much as needed to be for the Wii.
Maybe just pre-fired a bit and then.
Yeah, exactly. So this
But
probably
most of those games get canned at some point longer development.
no, this one
just-
actually got released. It's
Oh, okay. I
yeah,
didn't
it's
realize.
called like Soul Calibur Quest or something like that. It was very, very little heard of because everybody was. I mean, the essence of Soul Calibur is literally a fighting game with swords. And so when they decided to do this thing where you're going out and you're doing this adventure, sure, with your favorite character, but the gameplay was so totally different that people who loved the Soul Calibur games because they were Soul Calibur games said this isn't a Soul Calibur game, and they didn't like it. And the people who would have been perfectly targeted, like say Legend of Zelda fans, said this isn't a Legend of Zelda game, and they wouldn't play it.
Even though Link appeared in the damn one of the other games.
Yeah, cheapest character ever.
At least it was not as bad as Spawn, which
No,
apparently I've heard a lot of bad reviews about Spawn being in that game, the Xbox version of that game.
yeah, that was a weird choice. I don't know where that came from. I will say, however, as far as gameplay went, Spawn was a better character than Link was, because
Controversy,
Link was. I mean, it was literally.
if I can.
I mean, there's a
Get
lot.
down.
There's a lot of flack in the game community about how Nintendo is like a kid's gaming console. It's not a real game platform. And you know, it would be one thing if there was absolutely nothing to support this, other than the fact that a lot of people played on Nintendo when they were kids.
Hmm.
But then you get games like Soul Calibur 3 with Link thrown in, and all the other characters, their basic moves are this. You know, it's the same control. Hit this button, hit this button, hit this button, and each button does a certain thing. And then if you want to do more complex stuff, like some of my favorite character is Ivy, some of her more complex stuff requires doing, sweeping with the control stick and hitting two buttons in a certain order, and then say her chainsword will fly apart, and each of the pieces will attack her opponent. Your complexity increases with the power and difficulty of the actual attack. But Link's character in Soul Calibur 3 for the GameCube, his most vicious, most powerful attack was it's the quick attack. And each character has a quick attack, but the quick attack for all the other characters requires a certain combination.
Why am I thinking QuickTime Event with this coming into mind just hearing this?
You're not far from the truth. Link's quick attack, the attack sequence is, hey!
Yay.
Yeah, so here I am with Ivy, and I'm getting to the point where I'm proficient in using her attacks, and they're all vicious, lethal attacks. And then my cousin comes in, he's playing Link as his favorite character, and all he has to do is get close enough, tap, 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 and he's done.
Skill, who needs it?
Exactly. Link was the button masher's character. That was it. I mean, you didn't.
So actually, that's an example of Nintendo heart there.
Huh?
It's a term from the TV tropes. It's basically is that you'll have a way of instead of say skills coming into it, you'll have a way of evenizing the other gamers so that they can work a bit better in terms of gameplay. For instance, take Mario Kart. How many times has anyone played that game? You've been basically leading the race the entire time. You're right near the finishing line, and then all of a sudden you get hit by, say, the blue missile, and then all of a sudden, within seconds, you've gone to last place.
Yeah.
Because all the other characters keep on. You're the one that they target all their weapons against.
Uh-huh. The thing is, though, I mean, that's actually totally, I don't buy that. And here's why. For the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, there was a game called Crash Team Racer. based, of course, on the Crash Bandicoot series. And that was fun.
Kind of playing around with Mario Kart.
Crash Team Racer actually was released around the same time as the first Mario Kart, but it was so much better. I mean,
First Mario Kart came out in the Super Nintendo.
right. PlayStation started. Okay, maybe I've got my time wrong. But I remember seeing Mario Kart shortly thereafter. Crash Team Racer came out.
Mhm.
And while I never really got into Mario Kart because it was honestly to me kind of boring,
Mhm.
Crash Team Racer was a lot of fun. You had weapons, and the multiplayer was truly good. The graphics were a lot better. The physics engine was so much better. Everything about it was, I mean, it screamed polish where Mario Kart did not. And then Mario Kart for the GameCube comes out, Mario Kart Nitro, whatever the hell they called it. And I look at it and I say, this is Crash Team Racer. Sure, you got a second person sitting on the back, but their entire purpose is to throw us one of the weapons or whatever. There's no really advanced usage to them, and if you don't have them, then you can still throw the weapons yourself. It's like, what's the bloody point? I mean, it's not like in Halo where you've got a warthog and somebody has got to drive, somebody's got to be in the gunner seat, and you might have or somebody's got to be on turret, and you might have a gunner in the third seat. This is literally just you can have two people, but you don't have to.
I will say that I never really played the Crash games anyway. But I've always loved some of those old Nintendo games, especially when you had the multiplayer sessions, especially GoldenEye. Anyone that plays that knows exactly. Like, there was a comment on one of that guy with the glasses video the other day, actually yesterday, mentioning that they reckon that one, the GoldenEye game, is the first MMO.
To my recollection, GoldenEye was not online.
Yeah, but when it came to multiplayer,
right? But MMO is
that's how
multiplayer online.
Yeah, but they're classifying it as the fun one at least.
Yeah, no,
it's the one online, but you could have fun by playing against people, especially due to the fact that it's something that you can't really do nowadays because, well, you technically can, but no one does it, is you play with people in the same room.
Yeah. Now, it was a good game. I'm certainly not going to say anything about it being bad or insufficient or whatever people might think I'm going to say.
Which I'm assuming people are trying to work out which type of character you'll be playing as, the cheating odd job or... Actually, no, Xander on the top, that's got to be you.
Anyways.
Deadly Fires, go for them.
So, you got the consoles, and then you move on to the portable platforms, and it's funny how a lot of people are trying to catch up with, I'm going to throw it out here, Apple was making good multiplayer for a portable platform. Because I know Nintendo tried it with the DS, but it just was very poorly implemented.
Yeah, those friends codes are a bit
So, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we can see everyone kind of gets the idea of what Nintendo was doing with that, which was that the people you're going to be playing against, it's sort of the old way back to the old days of when you were playing GoldenEye, which are people that you're playing with, you're friends with and all this, and they were trying that type of thing, so that the people you're playing with are friends and you've organised with each other. But the friends code system is kind of a bit odd.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot of more time and effort than other games, which is what, with the wide Xbox games, it's, PlayStation 3 games and even, and PC games all work is it's just drop in and play.
Exactly. And, I mean, when I first saw friend codes being posted on the internet, I'm all, what is this 26-bit hash? Well, no, this is somebody's online ID. What is this, CompuServe? Are we in the 80s again? Dead zone.
Yeah, just sort of joking about this. Yeah, no, but there's some games that are really good with the way they do different ones. For instance, what's the one offhand? Like, it was some of those online ones I've had a good experience, like, World in Conflict. Been a few months since I played that one, so that's why I had to try and dig it up. I've had some really fun experience playing that online.
We've
Okay,
got
that was the worst
Killerfish
eating-
back.
That was the worst eating noises I've ever made.
Nom nom nom. Sandwich is
Oh.
credited to team.
Cookies is sometimes food. Is sometimes now.
But I want cookies to be anytime food.
Cookies is credited to team.
So,
Yes, people should be able to work out, because we're talking about those type of games, what game I was referencing then.
your heavy impression is terrible.
Thank you.
Your
I guess-
heavy impression sucks. You lose the game.
You're fair of life.
Were you trying to do the French spy version of that?
You fuck. Have you played the game?
Yes, I have. Played it quite often with Misty, actually.
Aha.
The guy's Russian.
Yes, I know.
Speaks
The
Russian
spy's French. The soldier is American. The explosive guy, or the demo guy, is Scottish, and looks like Samuel L. motherfucking Jackson.
Black Scottish Cyclops.
And the sniper is Aussie.
And there's no British people. This game clearly discriminates against the English.
What about the voice?
Yeah, I think she's supposed to be British.
Okay, I retract my statement, but I'm going to do it in an angry manner.
Pyro is the one that no one actually knows anything about.
That's true. That's true. We have nothing on it. Which reminds me that there's another webcomic that I'll be reviewing in the future. But, for now, Killerfish, unless you have anything further to add on social gaming, I think we've kind of beat this into the ground.
I think we've probably done it since you've been talking about it since I left and then came back.
With food. Now I'm
Yes,
hungry.
with food. I shall taunt you with
If you're
my
going to bring
KFC.
food, you're going to need to share with everyone.
Would you like
Okay.
a pizza roll? I can give you one right now. I'll just give me your address and I'll mail it. I just made a batch for me of the pizza.
I was trying to work that one out, because it almost for one bit you went Texan and then all of a sudden you went Elvis.
That's from a 70-minute review of Star Wars: The Phantom Menace.
Oh, that fucking thing. I watched up to the third one because there was apparently something very noteworthy that they did now. And yeah, he kind of did when he talked about the plot, but I just gave up after that one because it was so stupid. I gave up really in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's one of those things you either love it or you hate it. I personally loved it. I thought it was spot on. Now, as a sort of...
I hated it for the get shut down, bitch. And, like he's got some girl in his basement that he's trying to he's got bashing. He's been beating up beforehand because he kidnapped and crap like that. It's like, what the fuck does that even have to do with the review?
It's a 70-minute review. You've got to make it entertaining somehow.
That's not entertaining. That's just disturbing.
We're pretty much wanted to talk really, since we tend to go off on random tangents all the time.
The same guy has, as sort of a follow-up to last week, has done a review of Avatar, and frankly, he nails everything that I wanted to say about the movie, but I just couldn't quite put into words. So, you might...
Aha! I can strike verbalize off my list of words that I need to use in a conversation. Aha!
Hey, 2 in 1 day. There you go.
Indeed.
Yes, Teal.
But anyways, so moving on, let's talk about webcomic
Actually,
reviews.
Well, with that, we've just going back.
One more thing.
Shut up.
Hey, we missed you.
You said that wrong. You should have said in an Agent Smith style.
What?
We missed you, Mr. Anderson.
Oh, we missed you, Mr. Anderson. Okay, so
Anyway, what I was saying is with odd games which oddly do bring it in, which you kind of don't expect them to have like social sections with it, but they develop themselves naturally. And what I said is with World in Conflict, and that's the online play when you do the online battles. It actually has a really strong community being able to build itself in beside those groups there. And hey, you can drop in some games where you never even know anyone there, but it doesn't take too long to actually start to notice people. And when you start to notice them, you can be a bit friendly with them and use those talk. And if you've got voice, you can talk to them and use that to actually help not just fight those battles, but also work out the best ways of playing with these other players.
So, Squato, what you're saying is this works really well in a social context because it's a pretty flat, level playing field where anybody can pretty much interact with anybody else, and there aren't a whole bunch of niches once you found the game you like to play online, and you're not being told, okay, this is the perfect one for you, and this is the perfect one for you. But like even in, say, Team Fortress 2, where there's a bunch of classes, you're not really pegged as saying, okay, you're in this class, so this is your area here. Am I hearing you right?
Yeah.
And we're back to the forums!
Indeed.
But the thing is though, with those, is when you have those players, you do have classes with World Conflict, but as what I'm saying is these type of games can develop them naturally. And of course, the other thing is if you have games where...
Squato, you missed a whole large part of conversation much earlier. And that's what I was referring to. Don't try to explain.
Hash browns and chicken.
After that,
Anyway,
now, I was
what
just
were you
saying one thing. But I was just saying is, look, if those games you don't like, there's one way to deal with them. Quit. Especially if you're in, like, one game recently I played of Team Fortress 2 where this guy kept on yelling around going, "The fly! I am the fly! I am the fly!" For literally the whole game. Everyone was trying to kick him out. And then he can, at the same time he was annoying people with some really stupid music that he apparently made himself, which he was yelling over the fly.
Okay.
That's social gaming for you people.
So, Squato, you have the duration of my and Killerfish's webcomic review to come up with a webcomic. I'll go ahead and get things started. I am going to be reviewing Edmund Finney's Quest for the Meaning of Life. The website
Sounds
is...
profound.
To the bride.
Sounds profound. And hey, another word to cross off my list of things to say in conversation.
It does get a bit profound, but not as much as you might think. The website is eqcomics.com. And if you go there, it's done in a very distinctive art style, but it's still very well done. I mean, you instantly know who's who. There's absolutely no question the main character, who he's interacting with, and like, for instance, in the most recent comic, they threw in a cameo of Rod Serling from The Twilight Zone. You know who this guy is the instant you see him. You don't even need
Well, if you're a certain age, at least.
Well, yeah, if you know who Rod Serling is, you know who this guy is. That's true. And he, okay, so here's the comic in a nutshell. It's about Edmund Finney and his quest for the meaning of life. Yeah, so being going back to the beginning. It starts out, he's already started on his quest. It's right at the beginning. And he starts running into some unique characters that, start giving him little ideas about what is the meaning of life. The problem is that they all are a little off. It's kind of like your classic gamer quest where you're playing this game and every person you talk to, they have something to say that's kind of related to what things you're supposed to do to complete the game. But in the end, I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy series. None of that stuff really matters because the big bad is somebody that you don't even know who it is at the game.
What? They have a plot twist? A plot twist?
Now, as far as I know,
impossible, I say.
As far as I know,
inconceivable. Tick.
As far as I know, there is no version of Sephiroth in Finney's quest to find a new life. It's all really campy, really silly. Even the parts where characters being hunted by other characters are kind of wacky and zany. So there's parts where the humor's a little bit dark. Edmund Finney talks to cannibals. He talks to a violent biker gang. He talks to vampires, and it just all the stuff that he goes through. And somehow, miraculously, he makes it through all of it, including being tossed out of a hot air balloon from however many 100 feet it is. Yeah. So, one thing to keep an eye out for is, as you're reading this comic, at some point, and I'm not sure where in the comic it starts, but if you're reading the comic through the RSS feed, you're never going to see this. But if you're reading the comic on the website, and you hover over the comic graphic itself, then in the upper left-hand corner pops up a little picture of Edmund Finney writing in his journal and some little bit about the comic that you just read. And it's often just that one last little bit that takes it from a cute little, oh, this is a funny comic, chuckle, to, oh my god, this is so hilarious, and you're just laughing your ass off. So, just to recap, good comic, good art, read it, and don't forget to go to the main site and hover over the comic with your mouse pointer. It's worth it.
Indeed.
So,
I say that word a lot.
Yeah.
It's not like it's on my list of words to say in a conversation for 50 times or anything.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
No, I used that last week. I used that last week. It tends to come up more often than you think. Anyway, onto the comic I shall be reviewing. I should mention that we're not quite sure if we've done this one before or not, but hey, who cares? I am in fact reviewing Girl Genius. And Squato is probably going to pop up now and say we have done it. Because Squato tends to do that a lot with comics. And I've got something in the back of my throat. Hang on a second.
I'm not saying anything.
That's better. Anyway, because I'm completely useless at this sort of thing, I'm actually going to read the plot section out of the Wikipedia page for Girl Genius. Because, hey, it works better than me trying to describe it. Girl Genius presents an alternate history where the Industrial Revolution has escalated into an all-out war due to battles between sparks, highly charismatic mad scientists with supernormal abilities in one or more science. I can't even read this. Anyway, the main character, Agatha Heterodyne, at first seems to be nothing more than a struggling student at Transylvania Polygnostic University. But when Baron Klaus Wolfenbach and his son come to investigate irregularities at the university, a seemingly unrelated sequence of events leads to Agatha's awakening to her family's genetic inheritance and their secrets. Damn, these people do long run-on sentences. The people she meets as she flees the Baron will either help her or try to use her. But in the wastelands of devastated Europe, trust can be hard to win. And that's the plot line. As I said, it's much better than me trying to describe it. Anyway, drawn by Phil Folio, who does a lot of stuff at Comic Con, including being the Master of Ceremonies at the Masquerade with his wife, who also does this comic. Yes. I suggest you read it. If you don't, I stab you with a knife.
So,
Letting your inner squatcher out, eh?
why do you always pronounce that with an R?
Yeah, I never got
Because
that.
I can.
It's because you don't want it to sound like Squato,
Anyway,
as in the first. Let me go to the corner.
so, anyways, so it's good comic. I've read it. I read it. Killerfish.
Dan's a fan.
And a fan.
Hey, another good reason to
It
read
comes with Dan's seal of approval.
Golden Egg. Yeah, I liked it. Give it a good read. Enjoy it.
So,
The
okay.
biggest problem
Also-
I have with trying to get in with that is it's just the two fact. Well, partly the size of the damn thing, the fact it's got those two time frames it's in, which is well, where it's technically at the moment two separate comics, but it's one
Well,
time.
that ended a long time ago.
Oh, let's finish that. Okay.
Yeah.
Because people are still apparently saying that. Oh, it's still doing that. Like, oh, okay.
No, it's done. See, the reason for that was because originally it was a print-only book, and they would sell it at like the Comic-Con conventions. And they do still sell the print books. But after a while, Phil Folio realized, no, we really do need to get this out to more people. And hey, a lot of people are reading webcomics, so let's do a webcomic. And so from that point forward, all the new stuff that he was drawing came out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I think it was, and I think it still is. And you would get like a page of what would be a printed comic every time it updated on the web. Well, there was a lot of stuff they had in the print books that they needed to get out as well. So they basically all they did is instead of building up this huge archive over time, they said, well, let's just release a page a day of this. And so they posted one page every day, or every time the comic was supposed to update on the regular track as well. So the first run of the print books, that's what everybody was saying. Oh, well, you have to read through this at the same time, and you're not getting that story, and there's a lot of backstory that's missing between the two time frames. But if you were to go back, say, today, and hit start of the archive, you would be taken back to the first comic from the first page of the first book. And you just read through all the archives, and there is no second track at this point because the books finally caught up with what's on the web, and now it's just one long, unbroken comic strip.
Yeah, and in fact, the stuff that's posted on the internet is in fact in colour, whereas most of the books tend to be black and white. So you actually get an advantage of looking at it online as well as buying it in the books. If that makes sense. You're awfully silent.
Oh,
Awfully silent.
I don't have a song for it. Sorry. Okay, so Squato, why don't you review Penny Arcade?
Penny Arcade?
Yes.
Okay. It's, according to one person, all you need to know is it's the biggest webcomic in the world. There's your review.
One more down.
Wow. You really put a lot of effort into that, Squato.
Well, apparently
I
the reason
thought-
why they are... well, that's all you need to know is apparently that is because there's apparently nothing else to know because they've got TV shows, they've got their own conventions, they've got their own game studios, they've got all these other things, and this the guys that make the damn game. Which is actually true. And apparently all this, the rest of the game, the rest of the fact that they make the series is secondary to the, all that other stuff nowadays. So apparently you don't need to care about it. So, but because we're doing reviews, we are.
So what you're saying is about Penny Arcade is you don't need to care about Penny Arcade.
I throw a bar at you.
Well, okay. For those of you who have not yet read Penny Arcade features two characters, Tycho and Gabe, which somehow...
Based on Mike Karahoki and Jerry Hawkins.
Yeah, somehow it went from being just these two characters they were drawing to being stand-in representatives of them. And if you were to go to one of their conventions or to Comic-Con when they show up and ask them, hey, can I meet Tycho and Gabe? And you meet them and they look nothing like their comic persons. It's because they didn't start out looking like their comic persons.
Yeah, you can actually see the photo of them on the Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually looking at that right now.
Wikipedia, what will we do without you?
Penny Arcade is very much gag-a-day. If there's storylines, it's maybe 3 comics that occur. There are a lot of repeating characters, including, for those of you who might not remember the early to mid-'80s, the TiVo. Or not the TiVo, the Devo. Divix? Whatever the hell the guy's name is. It's this little console-looking thing that, back in it was Divix, that's what it was. Before we have the internet standard codec that we have today, there was a console that you plugged into your TV called Divix. And the idea was that even if you bought a DVD, a Divix disc, I should say, even if you bought a Divix disc, you weren't actually buying it, you were just renting it. And every time you played it, it took you one step closer to that disc expiring. And as soon as the disc expired, you had to buy it again. And
that was a great system.
And
why did that fail?
The entertainment industry is honestly still scratching their heads saying, what? So, like I said, they have these recurring characters. Now, one caveat right here, right now, there are a lot of things about this that are not safe for work, shall we say. if you,
Apparently, particularly one comic which they've had to remove.
That was not necessarily because it was not safe for work, but that was also definitely not safe for work. And by the way, if anyone is looking for that, I can probably find a place for you to get that one. Not that I necessarily have it.
Here's a hint, it's on the internet.
That's true. In any case, yeah.
But I love their comeback to all that entire shit, how they had to pull up their little comment about how...
She's saluting a picture of Hitler.
Yes.
So, if you have parents who are sticklers about, say, language, then you might not want to have it up when there's a chance your parents could walk in the room. If you happen to be at work and have some spare time, probably not the best thing to have on your screen if your boss happens to walk in, especially if the fruit fucker happens to be on screen.
You know what? I've now got to just test this comic now at work, because I know some things are banned. YouTube is banned, eBay's banned, things like that. All banned by the Australian government, apparently, because it's offensive. EGS is not.
That's just because it's not big enough to really catch their notice. Besides, it's about furries. Who cares about furries?
Well, they got in the rules specifically. They underlined the fact that bestiality is something that's not allowed on any defense computer. So.
Oh, I want to be banned by the Australian government. It's not fair.
Because you're not somebody until you've been banned by the Australian government.
Well, to be fair, a lot of these ones, when it comes to security arrangements, this is why they banned it. Apparently, it's really stupid. You go like the base I'm on, apparently it's been banned by someone there in the IT department, but if you go to other bases, it may not be banned, or if you go to other security sections, they don't actually ban those. There's things that they don't ban. For instance, because my brother's a cop, his wife can't get on to Facebook because it's not allowed for members or for wives or spouses of people in the New South Wales Police Force to get onto Facebook. Whereas if you're a member of ASIO, you can.
What's ASIO?
ASIO is basically the Australian version of the CIA.
Nerd. We keep coming back to this topic. Why is that?
I don't know.
So, okay. So, Penny Arcade is definitely a love it or hate it comic.
Dan it's also got his seal of approval.
I
He basically has made many quotes, even on his Twitter pages and the other stuff, about how much of an awe he is about the writing style for this comic. A lot of people have said specifically this is a comic which got them into making web comics. And also trying to improve their writing style because of both the art, which is done by one person, and the writing. It's very, very, very rare to see something done like that be successful as it is. It's normally, 90% of all comics are done by one person. And that means that they cut down on the ego problems that develop between the artist and the writer. I say it cuts down, I'm not saying it eliminates.
Wait. People have egos?
Just
Right.
because you're English doesn't mean everyone else is.
so
But they should be. Everyone should be English.
that explains the whole British Empire thing that happened around.
You know what, I'm
There
sort
was
of
no
looking on
British
the...
Empire. That's a lie.
Yeah,
Lie. You
going
can't
back to
prove
the-
it.
Going back to the Wikipedia page and your points before, okay, they got different sections on the PRK page. There's overview, attributes of the comic strip protagonist, podcasts, video games, other works, Penny Arcade events, legal issues, American greetings, Jack Thompson. Section 9, John Gabriel's Great Internet Fuckward Theory. Collected editions, online forum, analyst, web awards, Washington State Senate Resolution 8640. See also, and blah, blah, blah. I love the fact that they actually have the... Oh, and for those interested, yes, the strawberry shortcakes is actually also on Wikipedia as well.
Nice.
I love the
This
fact
is
that
odd.
you've got
I'm actually
fuckword
going-
appearing on the Wikipedia because normally they just delete any words like the word fuck on Wikipedia. So apparently Penny Arcade is so good that Wikipedia
It
is
breaks
going to look the
Wikipedia.
other way that rule.
I'm actually currently going over the archive, and I'm getting a lot of no comment news posts for this issue.
Yeah, that's another problem that they do have. It's that a lot of the
They don't
archives
link
just-
the news stories to the comics.
So,
But it's a really long, you can see the huge improvement in the art styles. So much so that they recently, a couple of months ago actually, they had, he was trying to work out a new story that they were going to go and create, which was, one with a type of, film noir type story, but it's with robots.
no,
It's not actually comedy. This is spectacular art. The story was
it is.
brilliant.
It's really good. It's kind of a steampunky thing.
There was also another one with fantasy. Again, brilliant. And I can't remember what the third one was, but I think that one was the one that people decided to win the competition, which was the one that they were going to work on. The other two were going to fall to the wayside.
Right.
I just can't think what that third one was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, why did you do that? Anyways, so
Go the robots or the fantasy one. That was good.
yeah. So okay. Just to recap, we talked a bit about the forum conflicts. We talked about we reviewed the big Squato. We talked about the comic a little bit, the Q&A, how much we really like it. In the news, we talked about the tea parties here in America. Our discussion was about social gaming, which turned a little convoluted and lasted a little bit long. And for webcomic reviews, I reviewed Edmund Finney's Quest for the Meaning of Life at eqcomics.com. Killerfish reviewed Girl Genius at girlgenius.online.com, and Squato reviewed Penny Arcade, which I believe is penny-arcade.com. Correct me.
Indeed it is.
Okay. Our wonderful sponsor has been Shastrix.
Aha.
Lion.
Don't drink the water.
Oh, there we go.
Sastric, don't drink the water.
They provide...
Fine, Sastric, energy drink. It will make you madly.
You just lost half our audience, Squato.
It'll make you English.
You just lost the rest of our audience.
And if you do it the right way, it will make you Femi. And there goes the other half. Yes, that's 150%.
Oh, this is why we need 3 hosts, people.
Yes, because we need 3 halves.
Yes, Mutty.
So,
Oh, wait, Mutty's evil.
Killerfish, you were going to tell us a little bit about ALCL?
Yes. The Anime League Club London, which is a small con which I'll be going to tomorrow, which will be the, hang on, what day is it? It'll be the 6th tomorrow, the 6th of February. So I'm not sure if anybody will be able to listen to this in time, but if you saw somebody there who was wearing a strange costume and a mask and some goggles, that was probably me.
Yeah, that's narrowing it down to how many people?
Well, considering there's about 250 people going, it shouldn't be too hard to narrow it down.
Again,
It's a
that's
small
narrowing it
con.
down to how many people?
249. No. Squatter, did you have anything to plug before we pull the plug on this?
I'm alive. Have been slightly trying to catch up this weekend on my sleeping habits because of the fact that storms have been keeping me awake, and when it's not them, it's the mating habits of huntsman spiders. It's just love Australia.
And I've been continuously working on podcast and Bunnycast, so everybody should have seen the results of that. Which was yesterday, of course. So everybody should already have that. Otherwise,
If not, do so now. Now!
go read the comic, participate in the forums if you can, and it's time for us to say goodbye. It's been very long. I think we're going to split this one anyways, just because it's
So long. No, don't.
Good catch. Good catch. It would have been a perfect segue, though, because we are saying goodbye.
But,
Okay.
but apparently he has to escape from the Nazis pretty soon, though.
Again with the Nazis.
Well, that's like 3 or 4
Everyone's
episodes
favourite.
already.
The Nazis, everyone's favourite beat bashing bag.
Seriously, we're always talking about the Nazis. Nazi. If I just say Nazi a bunch of times, will that just make it so that we're not going to talk about Nazis again?
No, that would just cause Hitler to come back from the dead.
Damn it! Alright.
Hey, at least if that happens, at least America has a good enemy to fight. America! Fuck yeah!
Right, Squato doesn't sing either. If I'm not allowed to sing, Squato's not allowed to sing.
Okay, we're out, guys.
Bye-bye.
Or Fort Marine.
We are but pawns in a faded game of cat and mouse. Maybe a couple of guinea pigs thrown out here and there. This crazy world is all messed up in my head. I got you, I don't care.